Yum, yum!
Hey guys, this is Ed from Pixel Fondue, and in this video I'm going to cover some Mesh Fusion strips basics. So before we can actually cover Mesh Fusion strips, we're going to need a Mesh Fusion item. So just as kind of a refresher, let's create a Fusion item. So I have a lot of mesh items here, and the first thing I'm going to do is take this ellipsoid 01, and I'm going to turn this into a Fusion item. So in the Fusion vertical tab, I'll come over to New Fusion, and the Fusion name is Fusion item, that's fine. Now, absolute strip width is checked, and that means that our strip width is going to be measured in real world measurements. In this case, our default will be 1 millimeter. If I uncheck that, then our strip width will be measured in a percentage. I prefer to work in real world measurements, but you can always change this after the fact, so nothing is set in stone. So I'm just going to click New Fusion with selected meshes, and then I'll close this. And now we have a Fusion item. So I'm going to take some of these other mesh items. I'm selecting all of the trim pieces, and I'm going to come over here and, first I'll shift select the ellipsoid, and then I'll just set mesh roll and apply to subtractive, so that they are now subtracting from the ellipsoid. I'm going to select this cone, and then I'll shift select the primary ellipsoid, and I'll choose intersect, which is the center icon under set mesh roll and apply. There we go. Now I'm just going to hide some of these trims, and then I'll select these cube cutters, as well as this cylindrical cutter, and I'll shift select the ellipsoid, and then I'll just choose set mesh roll and apply to trim. There we go. And then I'll just hide the rest of these visible Fusion source wireframes by holding Control F to bring up the Fusion pie menu, and I'll choose toggle source visibility. There we go. So this is our Fusion item, and we have strips everywhere the Fusion source items kind of overlap. I hesitate to use the word intersect because it gets kind of confusing with the trim intersect kind of nomenclature, but everywhere basically a Fusion source overlaps or intersects with another Fusion source, you should see a strip. Now at the moment I can't select these strips. They're just unselectable because they haven't been updated. When I do update the strip items, they will be selectable in the viewport, and you'll also notice that they will become child items of the Fusion item. So there are two ways that I can update the strip items. I can either come over here to the Fusion strips section of the Fusion vertical tab and choose update strip items, or I can hold Control F to bring up the Fusion pie menu, and I can choose the leftmost option, which is create or update strip items. So I'm going to do that. Now, once these are created, we can select them in the viewport, and when I do that, a Fusion strips popover will show up. So I'll just pin that because it's very useful. And I can select multiple strips by holding Shift, and the strip properties will show up in the Properties tab. Now, as I mentioned, the strips are going to be in the Strips folder, which is a child of the Fusion item. And if I twirl that down, we have all of these substrips here. And as any hierarchy in MODO, in the item list, if I hold Shift while I click the arrow, it will open up all of the entire hierarchy will be exposed. So I'll just Shift click that to twirl that back up. So now let's talk about actually adjusting these strips. If I select one strip, so let's select this strip right here, which is kind of a closed loop, I can come over here to strip width, and right now it's 1 millimeter, but I can easily change that to 35 millimeters. And you'll see what happens here. I can change the strip profile, which is right now 50%. If I take that down to about 10%, the strip will become much flatter. And by increasing that to, let's increase it to 95%, it will just become much more round. And you can either, you can even put that further. I think you can go up to 200%, but let's just do 185, and then it will become almost like angular, the profile. So that's pretty useful. You can get a really wide variety of kind of fillets with this. So I can select all strips with this button here in the Fusion vertical tab, select all strips. I can also select it in the Fusion strips, pop over, select all strips, and also in Control F, this pie menu. The kind of northwest option is select all strips. And that's really useful for just selecting everything and adjusting them all at once. So, for instance, if I want to select all these strips and adjust them, I can come over here. Right now it says strip width mixed, but I can just change that to maybe 25 millimeters. And then it adjusts all of the strips to 25 millimeters, which is pretty helpful. So I'm just going to actually set that to 15 millimeters. And maybe we'll do a strip profile of about 15. There we go. So it's pretty flat. This will be like a nice hard-edged kind of form. Now, let's talk about strip corners. Strip corners appear where we have a junction point where multiple strips kind of meet. So this area right here would be considered a corner. Let me actually bring up my screen sketch feature so that I can kind of draw this out. This right here is the corner. And what if we want this corner to be a little bit more round? Like that. Well, one way we can do that is with the corner feature here. So if I select these two strips and then come over here to the strip corners in the Fusion Strips popover, we have this row of icons here. The leftmost one is a square and the rightmost one is kind of a circle, and then we have a kind of transition from square to circle in between. So if I just choose this one right here, this icon, which is pretty round, you'll notice that our corner becomes very round there. Now we can control the strength of this with this checkbox right here, which is adjust density to, and then we have a numerical input box here. I like to keep it around 5, and with this checked, I can kind of reset that to very angular, or if I click that button again, it's not as round. So I think I'll keep it at maybe this third box right here. Now this will have no effect on this closed loop because there's no angle. But everywhere else, wherever there's a corner, it will affect it. So I'm going to select all strips with this button, and then I'm going to set them all to this third icon from the left. And that will change all of the corners to be nice and round. So that was a brief look at the strips. It goes much deeper. There's a lot more you can do with strips, but for now I think that's a nice introduction to working with them. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.
Yum, yum!